Live from New York, it's Radio Night Live with Kevin McCullough. Wait, who?
Kevin McCullough, let me start with you.
Huh? The big dog, Kevin McCullough.
And Kevin McCullough.
No. Who?
Nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
Who? Kevin McCullough?
Kevin McCullough is a nationally syndicated radio host and author of No He Can't.
What?
How Barack Obama is dismantling hope and change and CEO of Extreme Media.
All right, Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. We've got a lot to come yet in the broadcast. We'll take more of your calls on the Uma Thurman thing a little bit later this hour. And I was thankful to have Lila Rose in the first hour, but this hour, it's the Ladies Lounge, and that means we are welcoming our guest, Melissa Jane Kronfeld, back to the Ladies Lounge. She is a favorite. She was on a few weeks ago, but back then, the presidential candidate that she was supporting at the time was still in the race. He was also my presidential candidate at the time, but he's no longer. So we're going to find out what she does with herself now. There's no cruise in her life. Melissa Jane, MJ, welcome back to Radio Night Live. Good to have you.
How are you doing, Kevin? Nice to be here.
I'm jealous because your voice is lower than mine, and I work in radio.
I know.
How did you make that happen? Like, that's just not fair at all.
You know, growing up, it wasn't a blessing. When I was at the sleepaway camp, the girls used to make fun of me. Used to say, "Oh my God, there's a boy in our house." And it used to get me really upset. And the older I got, the more I realized that it might be a benefit for me. So I appreciate the compliment.
There's no kidding there. I mean, think about this. I mean, somebody you're really trying to get something done, you know, and look, we're New Yorkers. We know how things get done. And they're like, no, you know, I'll get around to it when I. So you call them up, you're like, hey, maybe you didn't hear what I said. You need to take care of this now.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, Godfather. I'll be right on it. I'm sorry.
I love it.
No.
Yeah, we're New Yorkers. We get things done. That's what we do. There's nothing that makes me crazier than non-following up. It's just one of my biggest pet peeves in life. It's something that I don't ever do.
Yeah. Now, remind my audience, because you've got such a wide range of interest, you are actually a PhD process right now?
Yes, PhD ADD, which means all but dissertation, which means I'm in the process of writing my dissertation. I just haven't defended it yet.
Okay.
So I'm about halfway through that process, and I study national security stuff. But the rest of the time, I work in science.
Your PhD is going to be in national security?
It's in national security. Yeah, I focus on the way in which we use words and the effects that actually has on our ability for our national security institutions to create adequate policy and execute it in a good way, for lack of a better word.
I didn't realize that. The last time you were on with us, we could have had a completely different conversation because this administration has been the first administration to come in and actually ban words from the lexicon, not only of what the reporters are allowed to use, but like Obama took like radical Islam out of the allowance for even memos within the White House to be contextualized.
Absolutely, and it serves as a really great example. So when we use the words radical Islamists, right, and we use them to such a great extent that we overuse them and we become so hyped about them, we wind up pursuing policies that are vastly exaggerated from the threat. But when we don't use those words at all, we ignore the threat. You have to find that common ground so where you can make an argument that perhaps in the very beginning our policy was very extreme in terms towards the threat, even though, granted we had every right to feel that way, by having the complete opposite policy, by ignoring that that's what the threat actually is. The threat is not coming from radical Colombian drug dealers, in part it is, but they're not trying to blow us up here in New York or in LA. And
Exactly.
that's the real problem, that there's no middle ground that we find in politics anymore. And we see that with the two candidates that we have.
Yeah.
Trump and Hillary don't represent middle ground. They represent the extremes of both parties. And that's just not who I am as an American.
Well, it's going to be an interesting race, and we've got a lot of politics to talk tonight. But let me just encourage people, if people want to follow MJ on Twitter, you can tweet at her at EMME_JAY. That's her. You get it? MJ. See what she did there? You see what she did there? She's tricky that way. But Twitter at EMME_JAY. And she's also a contributor to Millennial Magazine. She hosts a number of events. You know what, MJ? I was reading through your Facebook feed over the last couple of weeks since we had you on the last time. I got exhausted just reading the stuff that you do. I can't imagine actually doing it all. How do you? You're hosting some event for some group that is a phenomenal cause almost every night of the week. It seems like.
Sometimes more than one, because we have limited time on this earth, and we have to fulfill our duty to make the world a better place. And there are so many people who don't, that I feel maybe it's just this Jewish guilt inside of me that I feel like I got to make up for all the slackers that are around me in the city, and all the Democratic Jews that are, not voting for the right candidates. But either way, you just put your head down and you go.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Well, we could probably talk for any number of hours on any numbers of these things, but let's zero in on Israel for a second. There's you had one of my friends, by the way, come by and see you this last week, Danon. I mean, I'm a big, huge fan. He's kind of like the Rick Perry of Israel, isn't he?
He certainly has the hair, doesn't he? Danny's our new ambassador. We're happy to have him here, as we're always happy to have the lead to the Israeli political class visiting us here in New York and at the United Nations. And it was a really cool opportunity to engage Danny, because it was actually the reception for the Stand With Us Israel Matters display. And this display goes all around the world, 10 or 12 panels, and it talks about what Israel is. Israel is about green technology. Israel is about going around the world helping people in disasters. Israel is about supporting Israeli Arabs. Israel is about Zionism, an indigenous movement of people that have been in that land forever. And it was the first time that the word Zionism hung in a display at the United Nations, because as you're probably aware, up until not too long ago, Zionism was considered apartheid at the UN. So it was a special opportunity. It was really cool. I know behind the scenes there was a lot of consternation. It was going to go up. It wasn't going to go up. The Arab countries were very upset that it was up. They were demanding that it go down. It was a big, huge to-do, but the display stood for a week in the UN, and that's something the Jewish people over here and over there should be proud of.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about Israel's place in the UN and kind of what it means. They're obviously in rough waters there, and when Netanyahu comes, and he comes faithfully and speaks every year, it is always mocked in terms of its reception. Our media doesn't help matters. But Israel stays the task. They stay in the UN. They keep trying to have the dialogue and the discussion. Is Israel's participation in the UN beneficial? Would you prefer to see it enhanced, eliminated? How do you feel about the interaction between that body and this nation that a lot of Americans care very, very much about?
So I have the great fortune, or misfortune, however you want to perceive it, to get to spend a lot of time at the UN. Given my activism work in a wide range of issues, but a lot to do with the fact that I'm a Jewish diplomat for the World Jewish Congress. And listen, at the end of the day, it would be great to tear down the UN and start fresh. But how, but where, but why? It certainly wouldn't be to the benefit of Israel or the United States to tear down the UN and create it new, because the dynamics, the power are completely different now than they were when the UN was founded. So if we were to start fresh, the power agreement would not be in the favor of the United Nations, and therefore would not favor Israel. I mean, the United States would not favor Israel. So I hear from diplomats over there all the time that states really want to stand with Israel on certain things. They see the humanitarian work they do. They see the cutting-edge technology they're producing that are helping people all around the world. But the fact of the matter is, and I hear diplomats tell me this all the time, is that countries behind the scenes will tell them that they will lose face if they stand with the Israelis. And so I got a call out of the United States and Ambassador Powers and say, what the hell are you doing? Lead a coalition of countries that are willing to stand by Israel for the right reasons. It doesn't need to be on peace. I'm talking about why are not people standing with Israel when we're doing something on climate change and green technologies, which Israel is on the cutting edge of, or when we have conferences on the status of women, as we did not too long ago. I was at the conference of the status of women, the 60th anniversary of the United Nations, and the thing that was amazing is it's the only conference, during the conference, the only resolution that they passed that's specific to a state is in regard to Palestinian women. And the Commission says that every year passes a resolution that says that Palestinian women are repressed by the Israelis and the Jews, da-da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, there's no country in the Middle East that has greater equal rights for their people than the Israelis. That's gender equality. That's LGBTQ equality. That's Israeli, Arab, Christian, non-religious equality. It's everywhere in Israel. But yes, they get called out at this conference, which is merely meant to be an opportunity to share and collaborate and be together as women and improve our lot in the world. And yet Israel still is the bottom end of it. So listen, I would love if the engagement with Israel was better, but here's the reality. It's not going to be. So I think what Israel does is the right thing. They keep their head down. They do what they can do. They know they're never going to win. But when there's an earthquake, you bet we're going to be the first people who show up on the scene to save your children.
It's true. Tsunami and a number of tragedies have proven that true time and time again. We're speaking with Jane Kronfeld, and she's written a really important piece to Millennial Magazine that we'll get into. Plus, women on the campaign trail. This is a hot issue between Trump and Hillary.
Hi, I'm eHarmony.com founder Dr. Neil Clark Warren. When we started eHarmony.com in the year 2000, we never dreamed that by the year 2013, we'd have over 565,000 marriages. A high percentage of these marriages have involved two persons deeply dedicated to the Christian values we commonly espouse. Marriages that have proven to be unbelievably enduring and satisfying. Now, maybe you've never considered eHarmony. Some of you have tried us and didn't find what you were looking for. Whatever your story, I want you to know how deeply committed I am to the importance of maintaining a strong allegiance to everything Christian marriage stands for. If you've been away for a while, we want to welcome you back. We promise to do everything in our power to help you succeed. Come to eHarmony.com and get started today for free.
Hi, it's Kevin McCullough. You've heard me for weeks telling you that I'm getting better sleep than I've ever gotten before because of MyPillow. MyPillow was just awarded the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. MyPillow is the world's most comfortable pillow because their patented interlocking fill conforms to my unique shape, resulting in the most restful sleep I've ever had in my life. And MyPillow stays cool throughout the night. They guarantee it for 10 full years not to go flat. In addition, you can just throw it in the washer dryer and keep it nice and fresh for years to come. And now a better reason for you to try MyPillow, 50% off of all products at MyPillow.com. That includes all sizes of pillows, a fabulous bed topper that revolutionized my lovely bride's sleep, and everything else 50% off. And if you can't check them out online, then give them a call. The number is 800-506-2641. That's 800-506-2641, 1-800-506-2641. And most important of all, use the promo code KMC. Promo code KMC when you call.
The historical credibility of the Bible is under attack. Many experts say there is no archaeological evidence for events like the Exodus. They claim these stories are just myths. Earlier this year, in theaters nationwide, thousands gathered for an historic one-night event for the release of a new documentary, Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus. Investigative filmmaker Timothy Mahoney journeyed to Egypt, Israel, and throughout the world to search for answers to one very important question. Did the stories, as written in the Bible, really happen? 12 years in the making, The Exodus presents convincing scientific new evidence that clearly matches the biblical account. That documentary is now available on DVD from Thinking Man Films. It features stunning animations, narration by actor Kevin Sorbo, interviews with leading archaeologists, and guest appearances by Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu and Shimon Peres. Patterns of Evidence, Exodus, the DVD, soundtrack, and book. Wherever DVDs and digital downloads are available. More information at patternsofevidence.com.
From the studio that brought you Heaven is for Real and War Room.
When the Messiah comes, Rome will be nothing.
A faithful retelling of the miracle that changed the world forever.
What happened to the Nazarene?
Risen on digital and Blu-ray.
His tomb is empty.
He's right here. Open your heart and see.
Risen. Rated PG-13. Get it now on digital, on Blu-ray and DVD May 24th. From the studio that brought you Heaven is for Real and War Room.
When the Messiah comes, Rome will be nothing.
A faithful retelling of the miracle that changed the world forever.
What happened to the Nazarene?
Risen on digital and Blu-ray.
His tomb is empty.
He's right here. Open your heart and see.
Risen. Rated PG-13. Get it now on digital, on Blu-ray and DVD May 24th.
Ooh, what a little moonlight can do.
Music from the Hot Sardines. It's Kevin McCullough. It's Radio Night Live. We are happy to have you with us in this spot every Saturday night. And in the second hour, we open up the Ladies' Lounge and have brilliant women from media come by and share their passions and expertises with us. And they've never ended yet in any of the women being kissed unwantedly by the heir to the Fiat automobile empire. And so I guess in that way, they're better off than Uma Thurman is. Anyway, Kevin McCullough, yet. Yes, everybody's pointing out that's not happened yet. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. Our guest this week is Jane Kronfeld, and she is a writer. She's an activist. She is an advocate. She is a PhD candidate. She is a person that is concerned about doing good in the world around us, and she has opinions. And I love having people that have opinions and know why they have opinions joining us. So I'm glad to have her back. And MJ, just before the break, we were talking mostly about Israel and the UN. But I want to get into this this issue that you had kind of bridged the gap with, because you mentioned that the issue of women at the UN, that is a big thing. It's talked about all the time. But we've got a little bit of an issue with women in the election of 2016, and both sides have significant negatives. In fact, very hardened negatives on both ends of this spectrum. Where are women going to go in this election?
I'm just grateful that I'm not teaching anymore. I used to teach at Rutgers. I'm grateful I'm not teaching anymore because I know how students are, and I know how the inquisitive minds are like yourselves, and everyone wants answers, and I don't have good ones. They tell you in social science research, you never.
It's a tough year to have answers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer. I can tell you how I feel, but when I tell you, I'm happy to do that. But when I tell you how I feel, I know women who I consider really bright and awesome and incredible, who are doing great things in the world, who feel the complete opposite that I do, and I can't even interact with them anymore. Like the way the world is during this, the way America is during this election, it's just. I never imagined politics would become so divisive in my own personal life. I know personally that, and I've said this to you, I'm pretty sure I said this to you last time I was on air, Donald Trump does not represent me as a Republican, as an American, or as a human being, and I will not vote for him. I've been saying it here. I will say it to whoever asks. I'll say it to the party. I'll say it to the voters. He's not the candidate that I would vote for. That's just about where it is on that. Hillary, is in a league for. I never imagined a world where I would be confronted, where I'd not be behind my Republican nominee. This is a really difficult time for me. I know a lot of women dislike Hillary because of, gosh, where do you even start? I mean, I think every woman I
one of the
significant
things that came up this week is, she talked about putting Bill Clinton in charge of the economy, and he's I think open to that. But Donald Trump immediately pounced on that and said, that the real issue with women as it relates to the Clintons doesn't have as much to do with Bill's abuse of women, though he's used them as pawns in his schemes before. But it was really the abusive nature that payback was visited against women by Hillary Clinton in the aftermath of being used by Bill. And so when you have women like Juanita Broaddrick, who, if you go back and you look at her story and you read her testimony and you understand that she was full-on raped, and this was a man that walked from that action. And not only did he walk, but his wife, who now is asking to be president, not only slandered her and attacked her and sent private detectives to dig up dirt on her and to do everything they could to disrupt her life, but that she was the one that was authoring all of that activity. It's stunning how bad women have it in terms of the choices they have this year.
No, absolutely. And for all that Hillary did to protect Bill, I still personally can't get over a woman who stands by a man who she knows consistently cheats. That's where my line is drawn.
Well, and I guess if you've come to a business arrangement and that's part of the bargain, I mean, but then you're talking about soulless people that literally can say, well, I can disassociate everything else about life. except the craven desires that I have for power and money, and let everything else go. I'm like, well, I don't know that makes you a good human being either.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's get into your piece that you wrote for Millennial Magazine. You co-wrote it with an author, but what's it about? Why did you write it? Why are you so passionate about it?
So yeah, my co-author Molly Mintz is also my assistant, my director of development, and one of my best friends. So it's awesome to work with someone that you love and you admire. She's an up-and-coming journalist over out at the New School. But human trafficking and modern slavery, I'm not sure if people are aware. In fact, I know people aren't aware of the extent that it exists in the world today. I probably have a conversation with everyone each and every single day, if not more than one person, who says to me, you mean slavery that happens over there in India or in Africa? And
right.
I say, no, slavery that's happening right here in the streets of New York. I mean, that young girl who's standing in Times Square showing her body tonight, 10:26, so I guarantee there's a girl out there right now. That girl is considered a slave. She is in the sex trafficking. She's being sex trafficked. She's in the sex industry, and we consider that a form of modern slavery. And this issue is important to me because our lowball estimate, there are 30 million people in slavery today, and my friend, author, and activist Ben Skinner tells us there are more people enslaved in the world today than there have ever been in human history. That's not acceptable. I'm Jewish. Part of our culture, part of our identity, part of who we are is celebrating our escape from slavery. Is celebrating breaking the bonds of slavery.
Right.
And there's probably no community that knows more about this. The Holocaust should be reimagined as an act of slavery to engage the Jewish community in this issue. This is something that is keeping us down as humanity. It's embedded in every single thing that we do, every product we eat, wear, and buy. There's not a single one of us that's immune from slavery, and that means it's incumbent upon all of us to do something about it. So I decided to raise the alarm a couple years ago when I got involved in the movement because I saw there's all these amazing people all around the world doing all this great work, and they weren't getting a lot of attention. They were working in a very siloed fashion. So me and a couple of friends of mine from an organization that we work with, Club Nexus, got together and we said, we don't want to provide services. We don't want to raise money. What we want to do is provide a clearinghouse for all these amazing people, whether they're donors and philanthropists, whether they're activists, whether they're organizations, whether they're governments or non-governmental organizations. They know they can call us and be connected to the right people. So we started building that, and it took off because the community didn't have that.
Right.
So here we are 3 years later, and we're building bridges every day to end slavery. But sadly, we're not making a difference. The number continues to rise every year. But the more and more people that are educated on the topic, the better chance we have.
Well, if people want to be in touch with you and help in any way, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can literally Google my full name, Melissa Jane Kronfeld. I'll show up just about everywhere. You can reach me through social media. Anyone in the world who wants to get involved is welcome to email me. My email is mj@pfatnyc.com. That stands for Party for a Purpose, nyc.com. It's easy to remember. And just let me know you want to get involved and connect with the organization. Let me know where on the road you are. One of the cool things that we did while creating this database is it's global. You know, we're working with my friend Duncan Jetson over in Asia, who's created this awesome platform called the Freedom Collaborative, where organizations, activists, and donors from all over the world are signing off to have conversations, collaborate, understand best practices, fundraise together.
That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
The time's changing, so if you're going to get involved, now is the time.
Yeah. Well, Melissa Jane Kronfeld, MJ, glad to have you back with us tonight in the Ladies Lounge. And come on back. We got lots more to talk about, girl, in the days to come. But thanks for sparing part of your Saturday night with us tonight at Radio Night Live.
God bless, Kevin. Keep it up. You're doing amazing work, and we're always listening.
Thank you so much. It's Kevin McCullough. We continue with Radio Night Live. We got a lot yet to get to tonight. Coming right back, live from New York, it's Radio Night Live.
Hi, it's Kevin McCullough. You've heard me for